Shiloh, Seneca Elementary. I hope you've been enjoying Shiloh. Today we'll be reading chapter 6. Night in West Virginia was as dark as black can be. No car lights sweeping across my walls or ceiling like when I stay overnight with David Howard down in Friendly. No street lamps shining in the windows. No lights from next door houses. Where I live, there ain't no street lamps at all. No house close enough to see from our windows. My eyes are open anyway. I stare up into the darkness of the living room, and the darkness stares back. I'm remembering how once, several years ago, when Ma bought milk chocolate rabbits one Easter for me and Dara Lynn. I'd finished eating mine, but Dara Lynn took only a nibble of hers every day or so, keeping it up on her dresser in its pink and yellow tinfoil, driving me nuts. And one day, I crept in there and ate off one of that rabbit's ears. Dara Lynn, of course, threw a fit, and when Ma asked me if I'd done it, I said no. I could feel my cheeks and neck burning red. "You sure, Marty?" she asked. I'd only nodded and left the room. It was one of the worst days of my life. About an hour later, she came out on the porch where I was pushing myself slow in the swing and sat down beside me. "You know, Marty," she said, "Dara Lynn don't know who ate the ear off her candy rabbit, and I don't know who ate the ear off her candy rabbit, but Jesus knows. And right this very minute, Jesus is looking down with the saddest eyes on the person who ate that chocolate. The Bible says that the worst thing ever possibly happen is for us to be separated forever from God's love. I hope you'll keep that in mind, Marty." I just swallowed and didn't say anything. But before I went to bed, when Ma asked me again about the rabbit, I gulped and said yes. She made me get down on my knees and ask God's forgiveness, which wasn't so bad. I honestly felt better afterward. But then she said Jesus wanted me to go in the next room and tell Dara Lynn what I had done. And Dara Lynn had a fit all over again. Threw a box of crayons at me. Could have broke my nose. Called me a rotten, greedy pig. If that made Jesus sad, Ma never said so. Now, as I study the darkness in my room around me, I'm thinking about lies again. I hadn't lied to Judge Travers when I said I hadn't seen his dog in our yard today. That was the honest-to-God truth because Shiloh hadn't been anywhere near our yard. But I also know that you can lie not only by what you say, but what you don't say. Nothing I told Judd was an outright lie, but what I'd kept inside myself made him think that I hadn't seen his dog at all. "Jesus," I finally whispered, "which do you want me to do? Be 100% honest and carry that dog back to Judd so that one of your creatures can be kicked and starved all over again? Or keep him here and fatten him up to glorify your creation?" The question seemed to answer itself, and I'm pretty proud of that prayer. Repeat it to myself so as to remember it in case I need to use it again. If Jesus is anything like the story cards from Sunday school make him out to be, he ain't the kind to want a thin little beagle to be hurt. But the problem's much more mixed up than that. I'm lying to my folks as well. I'm not eating the leftover meatloaf I've put away. Every bit of food saved is money saved that could go to buy Dara Lynn a new pair of sneakers so Mom won't have to cut open the toes on her old ones to give her toes more room. Every bit of food wasted is money wasted. If we ever had the least bit of money to spare that doesn't have to go to care for Grandma Preston, the first thing we'd all want is a telephone so we don't have to ride down to Doc Murphy's to use his. But the way I figure, it's food from my own plate. I would have eaten it myself, but I don't. So what's the harm in that? Next morning, when I get up to see Shiloh, I put the rope on his collar and laid him to the other side of the hill again, out of sight of all but God. Then I let him go. We race and tumble and laugh and roll, stopping now and then just to lie in the clover, me on my back, Shiloh on his stomach, both of us panting and nuzzling each other. Don't know if Shiloh's getting more human or I'm getting more dog. If Jesus ever comes back to earth again, I'm thinking he'll come as a dog, because there isn't anything as humble or patient or loving or loyal as the dog I have in my arms right now. We eat our Sunday meal, but by late afternoon, storm clouds roll in. The rain beats down on the tin roof of our house, streaming down the window glass, making a small pond in the side yard. I can't help staring out the window at the far hill. Will Shiloh, can he even leap that fence to try and go somewhere it's more dry? Is he smart enough to go under the lean-to I'd made for him? Had I built it right? Was it away from the wind? What if he gets to howling? In 20 minutes, the rain stops and the sun comes out. The birds start to sing again, all the worms oozing up through the wet mud. Shiloh stayed where he was, trusting me that where I put him was the best place to be. And he was quiet, like he knows his life depends on it. Marty, Dad says, going outside with a rag to wipe off his Jeep. I saw Mrs. Howard yesterday, and she said David was back from Tennessee, wanting to know when you boys could get together. She said David would like to come up here someday next week. I like David Howard fine, but I sure don't want him up here. David likes the hill. He always wants to play there. He's not afraid of snakes the way Dara Lynn is. David, in fact, likes to go to the very top of the hill and then go running lickety-split down it, racing to see who's first to the fence at the bottom. Likes to climb the trees up there too and play lookout. Well, I'll go down to David's tomorrow, I say. I'd rather do that. Why not do both, Ma says, coming out to throw some mash to the hens. You've hardly seen any friends all summer, Marty. Why don't you go down to Friendly one afternoon and ask David to come up here another afternoon? There's nothing much to do up here, I say, not knowing how else to answer. It was the wrong answer. Both Ma and Dad were looking at me now. You said just the other day you had plenty to do up here, Dad tells me, wringing out his rag at the pump. Lots for me to do, but not much for David Howard, I say. Another lie. It's a flat-out lie. Funny thing how one lie leads to another, and before you know it, your whole life can be a lie. I sit on the porch swing later, not even bothering to push it, and listen to the table being set inside. What do you figure is wrong with that boy, Lou? Dad's voice says. Just being 11, I guess, Ma tells him. 11's a moody age. Was for me, anyways. You think that's all it is? Well, what pleases you one day don't please you at all the next. What more do you think it is? Don't think he's got that dog in his mind still, do you? 11's got about everything on its mind, Ma answers. And then the evening news comes on, and Dara Lynn and Becky come out to the porch, leaving the TV to Daddy. Dara Lynn's got the devil in her tonight, a little bit bored with summer, but not quite ready for school to start. And just for devilment, she plunks herself down beside me in that swing and starts doing everything I do. I sigh, she sighs. I rest my arms on my head. She does the same. Gets Becky doing it too. Both of them laughing to beat the band. When I have my fill of this nonsense, I decide to go up the hill and see how Shiloh's doing. But as I go down off the porch, Dara Lynn gets up and makes as if to follow me. I stop. I'm looking to find me a snake stick, I say to myself. I'm looking to find me a snake stick, Dara Lynn says. I don't pay her no mind at all. Just start walking along the edge of the yard, picking up a stick here and a stick there, Dara Lynn tagging along behind. It's got to have the longest handle and a good strong fork on the end, I say, because that was the biggest, meanest snake I ever saw in my life. Dara Lynn stops dead still. She couldn't say all that if she tried. Plus, she's not interested in trying anymore. What snake, she says. The snake I saw up on the hill this morning, I tell her. Must have been 4, 5 feet long, just looking for somebody's leg to wrap itself around. Dara Lynn don't go a step further. Becky don't even come off the porch. What you gonna do when you find it? Dara Lynn asks. Try to keep it from biting me first. Pick it up with my stick second. And put it in a sack and carry it clear on past the Shiloh schoolhouse and let it out in the woods there. I won't kill it unless I have to. Kill it, says Dara Lynn. Get your gun and blow its head off. Whew, you've been watching too much stuff on TV, Dara Lynn, I tell her. Even snakes got the right to live. I'm thinking about how if I ever become a vet's helper, I've got to take care of pet snakes too. Next day, to head off David Howard from riding up to Friendly on his bike, I go down to see him. I attended to Shiloh first, taking a fistful of scrambled eggs left over from my breakfast, a bit of bacon, and a half slice of whole wheat toast that I stuck in my jeans pocket. It's not enough for a dog, I know, but probably more than he'd get from Judd. It's not enough for me either. Sneaking off half of my breakfast, lunch, and dinner for Shiloh, like I'm doing, means I'm going half hungry all the time. But if I eat extra, then it means Shiloh's costing us money that we can't afford. I fill my pockets with wormy peaches before I set out for Friendly, biting off each piece, spitting it out of my hand, picking out the worms before I put it back in my mouth. It pleased me that Shiloh was sleeping in his lean-to when I'd gone up that morning. The ground was dry under there. I'd brought up some old gunny sacks from the shed for him to lie on. Made it seem more like a bed to him, more like a home. The walk to Friendly takes a good long time unless I hitch a ride, and I'm not allowed to get in a car with somebody I don't know. But Dad being the mail carrier for this part of the country, I know almost everybody who goes by. The first person to come along this day, though, is Judd Travers. When I hear the sound of the motor and turn to see his truck slowing, I turn forward again and keep on walking, but he pulls up beside me. Want a lift, he asks. Oh, no thanks, I say, I'm almost there. Where are you going? I couldn't think fast enough to lie, and I said David Howard's. Boy, you ain't even halfway there. Hop in. I know I don't have to unless I want to, but if he's already suspicious of me, that'll only make it worse, so I get in. You seen my dog yet? First thing out of his mouth. I've been looking all over the roads, I tell him. No beagle. Well, I don't think he'd stick to the roads, Judd says. Not a dog as shy as him. He's as shy as a field mouse, except when he's around rabbits. That's what the man who sold him to me said, and he sure was right about that. How much did you pay for him, I ask. Got him cheap because he's shy, $35. Worth a lot more than that as a hunting dog, if I could just keep that animal home. Well, you've got to treat a dog good if you want him to stick around, I say, bold as brass. What you know about it? Judd jerks his head in my direction, then turns the other way and spits his tobacco out the window. You never even had a dog, did you? Well, I figure a dog's the same as a kid. You don't treat the kid right, he'll run off first chance he gets too. Judd laughs. Well, if that was true, I would have run away when I was 4. Far back as I can remember, Pa took the belt to me. Big old welts on my back so raw, I could hardly put a shirt on. I stuck around, didn't have any place else to go. And I turned out, didn't I? Turned out how? The boldness in my chest is growing, taking up all the air. Now Judd sounds mad. You trying to be smart with me, boy? No, just asking how you turned out. Somebody who was beat since he was 4, I feel sorry is what I feel. Judd's real quiet for a moment. The big old wad of tobacco in his cheeks bobs up and down. Well, don't go wasting your sorry on me, he says. Nobody ever felt sorry for me. I never felt sorry for nobody else. Sorry's something I can do without. I don't say anything at all. We reach the road where David Howard lives, and the truck slows. I can walk from here, I tell him. Thanks, and I get out. But as I come around the truck to cross the street, Judd leans out the window. Like I said, that dog's a shy one. Don't think you'll see much of him near the road, but you keep your eye out for him in the fields. That's where he'll be more than likely. You see him, all you gotta do is whistle. That's what I teach him. I whistle, and he comes to me, he gets food. But he does something I don't like, I kick him clear to China. You see him, just whistle. Then hang on to him, and I'll come pick him up, you hear? I hear, I tell him, and keep walking.